Today we're going to be talking about the top 10 best PSVR 2 games you can play as of right now. Now, I did one of these lists about 5 months ago covering things that you'd expect to see on this list like Resident Evil, No Man's Sky and all of that sort of stuff. So today I've avoided all of those games and we're going for 10 other games that you should definitively be playing on a PSVR 2 and are honestly worth every penny you put into them because you're going to get your money back out of them in the time played. And if you'd like to see that other top 10 listed, of course it will be linked at the end of this video. But of course, before we dive into the list, I would like to ask one small favour: smash like on this video, and of course if you're new, subscribe as well. We're on a road to 100k and I would really freaking appreciate your help getting me there, and of course it helps with visibility of these videos and getting them seen. Now let's dive into our very first game on this list, Subside. Now this is a game that you absolutely need to try. Not only is it probably one of the most visually stunning games you can play on PSVR 2 as of right now, but on top of that it's just a really solid experience as well. In this you're going to be playing as a diver, swimming around some incredible locations, and it's breathtaking just how stunning some of these locations actually are. The more you play, the more you unlock, the more places you're going to be able to go and visit, and some cool things are going to happen. Like if you really work hard at it, you'll eventually be able to get into like shark cages and all sorts of insane stuff within this game. Genuinely, this is one of those games that I jumped into and lost myself for 2.5 hours and just blink and it's gone. So definitely a game that I recommend to some people to get into. Not only that, but it's actually a fairly comfortable experience, so even if you're quite new to virtual reality, this one's going to be pretty comfortable for you to dive into. Excuse the pun, and of course have a friggin' awesome time. Next up is basically a AAA game at this point, and that is Behemoth. Behemoth has got to be one of the coolest experiences you can play in virtual reality, full stop. This one just had me blown away from start to finish. You're going to be fighting some massive, well, behemoths as you go through this game, but not only that, it's got a really solid combat system going throughout it and an incredible story that goes from start to finish. This really does feel like that AAA polished type of game, but in virtual reality, and honestly it's one of those ones that just gripped me from the get-go. The boss fights in this feel just insanely next level. Fighting stuff on that scale in virtual reality just feels insane. Not only that, but of course scaling up those bosses has you actually feeling on edge a little bit. If you suffer from like the fear of heights, this one's going to get you a little bit as you scale up these creatures. There's a fight that you'll do later on in this game which takes place in the sky, I'll just say that, and it was possibly one of the coolest things I've actually ever experienced in virtual reality. Next up we have Gran Turismo 7. Now the reason this is on this list is because of one reason and one reason only. There's now a free version called My First Gran Turismo, and now you can actually experience this for free. So if you don't want to invest the obviously 50 odd quid that is going to come into buying GT7, well now you can actually experience this for free on some of the racetracks and in some of the cool cars that are actually in the main game. This is just going to be able to give you a taste for whether this is for you or not. Either way, I highly recommend that you at least try this, because myself, I am not a sim enthusiast at all, let alone a racing sim enthusiast. But for me, when I played Gran Turismo 7, it just had my jaw drop because I've never experienced something that high fidelity and honestly that good looking that just drew me into the whole experience and actually completely changed my opinion on racing simulators. And now you have My First Gran Turismo, which is a free game. It's just a no-brainer. You need to go and experience this for free right now. Next up we have Aran Age. Now this is another one of those absolute time traps that I put myself into, where I did not realise just simply how much time I was actually putting into this. This is a really open world feeling type of game where you're going to be able to craft some incredibly cool weapons, fight some insanely cool bosses, and of course just have some really cool combat and story built in throughout this entire experience. Although I will say this is definitely for the more advanced VR players out there, because some of the mechanics in this just might be a bit tummy turning if you are a brand new user into VR. So I would put this on the list of back burners if you're very new to VR, but definitely keep it in mind for once you get your VR legs, and then you can get involved in this game. Other than that, this is just a very top tier, gorgeous experience, and another one that really utilizes just how good the screens are inside of the PSVR 2, just making those colors pop and those brightness. Oh, it just actually hurts your eyes to look at the sun, so definitely one you need to check out. Next up, we have an oldie but a goldie, and that is Into the Radius. This is one of the top tier experiences in survival VR, and not only that, it has a very creepy undertone that really leads throughout this entire experience. In this, you're going to be playing as a lone survivor survivor in a very post-apocalyptic world where your job is going to be to go into the radius and scavenge for supplies, doing missions and retrieving those, getting them back to your base and extracting so that you can then sell those items and move on to your next mission. This game really locks you into this incredible experience where literally anything can happen in the sense of like these dread shadow monsters coming after you, these horrible little spider buggers that will try and get you, and of course the mystery of Into the Radius itself. So this game is one of those ones that you'll again just lose absolute hours upon hours into, while it looks freaking stunning in its own very unique style. You'll have to do things like maintain your weaponry because they will jam if you don't look after them. That means cleaning your guns and of course making sure that everything is running well before you go, i.e. checking in the shooting range, because the last thing you need to happen when you're in the radius is a gun jam. It will end you and then you'll lose all your stuff and you'll have to go back and retrieve that backpack with, well, potentially no resources. So definitely check this one out if you're into your scavenging survival VR games. Next up we have Stride Fates, which is really one of my personal favorite games. I really like this. It's got a full story mode in there now. We originally had Stride back in the day, which was just a parkour game where you would just run in a straight line parkouring around things. Now they've incorporated that into a full-on story action adventure game where you're going to have that parkour element, and I literally mean jumping from building to building, giving you a mirror's edge kind of experience. This game really has you absolutely kicking ass whilst doing some of the coolest parkour stunts and making you just feel like an absolute action hero throughout the entire experience. I highly recommend you give this a go. It's just one of those games that looks good, plays good and feels good to experience. Next up we have Vertigo II, and another one that is a no-brainer for me to recommend to people. This is probably the closest you're going to have to experience in Half-Life Alyx on the PSVR 2 without of course, you know, plugging into a PC. This is just one of those games that I really recommend. It's got such a great sense of humour the entire way through this. Not only that, but it's got incredible physics and mechanics throughout the game, as well as just a really fun story that's going to keep you engaged from start to finish of this whole experience. Not only that, but they have an incredible DLC that's going to be coming out for this game, I believe early this year, so keep your eyes peeled for that. If you enjoyed the full experience that you're going to get first time round, you also now know that you have another DLC that's coming for this that's going to even enhance the game again, giving you even more to play in this. Next we have Hellsweeper. Now this is a great one if you and your friends want to get together and have a very unique experience in virtual reality. Again, definitely not for the faint of hearted. This is a more advanced VR game because the movement style in it does not lend itself to new VR users. You can backflip, you can time stop, you can do all sorts of insane acrobatics, and I mean literally do a full 360 like you're in some sort of John Woo movie and take out a bunch of insane hellish creatures. In this you are going to be fighting against literally hell demons. You're going to be taking them out, as well as going up against some sort of insane bosses that remind me of something like Dark Souls-esque type style bosses. And of course you can do all of this solo or with a bunch of friends as well, which makes this just a unique time. I mean, seeing your friends spin around in slow motion doing the most insane stunts you've ever seen is a very unique experience in virtual reality, but on top of that, being able to do it at the same time really just enhances this whole experience. Next up, rolling in with another AAA title, we have Metro Awakening, and this is one of those games that fully encapsulates the entirety of what you'd expect it to. This just feels like you have stepped inside of a Metro game where they have hit all of the marks that you'd expect them to make this feel like a true Metro experience. It has incredible gun mechanics throughout the entirety of this, an solid story that goes from start to finish, and of course it just looks visually stunning. This is up there with some of the best looking games, especially on PSVR 2. It's probably one of the best ways to experience this game because with the haptics built into the controllers and of course the head haptics and everything like that, it really just ties and unites this game to be really one of the best ways that you can experience Metro Awakening. And last but not least on this list, we have Metal Hellsinger. Now this is for the metal fans out there. If you love metal music, this game is going to be definitely for you. In this is a very rhythm based game where you're going to have to kill to the rhythm of the metal music that you're going to be listening to, and doing so you are going to be rewarded by better point scores and of course just better unlocks and cool stuff that you get to go through this. It's kind of a roguelike experience within a rhythm based game which is supporting metal and you fighting insane demons. I mean, that list of descriptors for this game is just flipping insane, but it really is just a very cool experience. So if you're looking for something that's rhythm based but you're not looking for some pop music or any other kind of stuff, but you want that metal experience, and we're talking like System of a Down and all that sort of stuff going on in this, if you continually kill to that beat then the song will play correctly. If you don't, you start messing up the song, so it really encourages you to actually you know, play the game properly. And there you have it. That is 10 incredible games that you can go play right now. Of course, a couple of those are even free, so you can go and experience those for nothing. So if you're in the headset and you haven't picked it up in a while, this is a great excuse to jump back into the headset. And of course, there is a ton of games coming out for this console, like a ton of awesome games coming out. We've got like Wanderer and a bunch more. So if you'd like to see a follow-up video of me talking about the upcoming games coming out for the PSVR 2, let me know in the comments down below. Of course, support this video by smashing the like button. If you're new, subscribe and all that good stuff. Other than that, I will catch you in the next video. Peace out. Bye.